Greetings once again. I am Russ Hatfield, and I have the honor of being joined by my twin soul Kara behind my shoulder, who is a higher dimensional member of Ashtar Command stationed on Hades Space. This challenge session for October is very special and is called Stack Shielding and Bethany Channels Omal. It was recorded in April of 1992 and channeled by Mark Crocker and our friend Bethany. The challenge session for this month is historic in the fact that we have two channels, so that we get to hear Mark speak in his natural voice for about 10 minutes while Bethany channels Omal. A fuller summary can be found at our link at the homepage below. For full transcript of this latest challenge session, please go to our main homepage at hadesbasenews.com. We invite you to subscribe to be kept informed of future postings on our YouTube channel from the members of Ashtar Command. And now we present our latest entry into the Hades Base archives, Stack Shielding and Bethany Channels Omal.
Greetings and felicitations. Greetings, Bethany. Greetings, Bethany.
Hello.
And how is everything going?
Correct.
Are you correct? Correct. Okay. First of all, as you're all aware, Kara has delivered a baby girl. Kiri is now in the family way, as we would put it. Here ends the announcements. Do you have any messages that you wish to say?
Cigar.
Cigar, some form of nicotine.
Yes. It's a tradition.
I'm led to believe
For
that
the
they,
men.
for the men, I'm led to believe that they are brown in colour. Why pink?
For the baby.
Okay. We will look into this interesting custom of yours.
It's not really that important.
It seems important to some people. Okay, now, previously you were discussing aggressive shielding with the channel and also group shielding or meta-concert shielding. Meta-concert shielding is for the later time. Aggressive shielding you are not quite ready for yet. You will work towards this, however, but you are not ready yet, unfortunately.
I have a request.
Certainly.
Whenever you test our shields, could you tell us where we rate on the levels within level 5?
Do you wish me to have the information come through the person who is testing your shields, or the situation? I find this very unlikely that it would be possible.
No, I mean, so it would take core time, you mean? Corness? To tell us the level we're at?
Yes, but you confuse me.
Okay. My request is that when you test our shields,
When we personally
yes,
asked, that is where the misunderstanding was. You said when our shields being tested.
okay, I meant when you test them physically.
Oh, okay. I
Could you
understand.
tell us where we rate?
Certainly.
Yes, I'm not quite clear on the descriptions of the different levels of the level 5 shielding, let's say. Will Cornus be coming through to the possible profits?
It is possible, but I wouldn't count all your chickens before they're in the basket.
Okay.
Good analogy for it.
Thank you. Okay, now down to serious matters. As last Saturday we did have a rather interesting lesson. Okay, let's go back over the events of that evening. Ashtar, as you were aware, was manipulating you, having broken down your shields with approximately 30 nanoseconds. As was discussed at the time, it was a bit like puppets. Ashtar also did not leave the room when the channeler channeled myself or Omal. He was present all the time through the channeling session. So that he didn't go off to do other things, he was present in the room. Whereas we're only present up here coming through the channeler. He was actually present in the room. Hence the reason for the distortion and sound on the recording device.
Why it would work out because of the section.
It was felt best that it was necessary that you had already learned enough at that point, and what was on the tape was enough to keep you interested in thinking hard. The rest was to test your memory capability for recall and so on, which is important. Defensive shielding. We will now move on to the next stage, being stack screening. This is a little bit harder, but it is the next logical step for the more advanced, and it will also help to speed up the less advanced. Stack screening works on the principle of extra shields, which are used when necessary. This is done by developing a secondary shield on top of the main shields. This is spaced away from the original shields by approximately, you would, using your measurement, a 1.5 foot. This can be more like a dome, as it is only a shelter that you put over to protect it. Then you place another one over. This is used in situations where you are stationary, under attack, in a mental posture, where the outside influences are greater than you can handle. Do you understand this principle? Okay, please repeat it back to me.
Using the dome-like outer shield on top of the main shields, we're able to get more protection using the other one on top of that. For the extreme case, we can maintain a certain mental defensive posture.
Correct. You can also add as many screens as necessary. However, this does detract from your mental capability. It will not weaken your shields, because you are now, or soon will be, reaching the stage where your shields are working constantly. You will find it unnecessary to check them on a regular basis. You will be able to operate your screens without thinking about it, as you are reaching the point of it being almost second nature. In some cases, this has already happened. Once you reach where it is second nature, you will be progressing sufficiently in level 5. You will also find that you will be learning a lot quicker and quicker, so that it will be much easier for you to maintain your shield without thinking about them. Then you can work on increasing the density of the screens and working on stack screening also.
I have a question.
Please proceed.
My shield has 2 shields already and then a filling
Yeah.
between that.
Mm-hmm.
Would my outer shield be the stack shield I've already created?
No.
Or I need to create a third?
I will repeat the principle of stack screening. You have your regular shields, which you have with you constantly.
Right.
Stack screening is an emergency that you set up a dome over you with a foot gap between you and the dome, or your shields and the dome. Then you have a second dome over the first dome with a foot gap. The measurements are approximate. You can then, if you wish, add more screens or more stack screening domes over the top, depending on how threatened you feel. You can also produce a static screen, which can be used like a dome. But this does require a considerable amount of work, which will come under Class 6 shielding. This will actually be able to be picked up on your recording devices, much like the background chatter that you pick up concerning Ashtar's channeling a week ago, I believe. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, back to stack screening. Stack screening is used in situations where metaconcert is involved, not from the person who is using the stack screening, but from an aggressive metaconcert being launched at that person. This, however, is any emergency situation where 3 or more people are attacking the person using stack screening. You can also use stack screening when you advance to metaconcert shielding. But again, you are not ready for this yet. But stack screening isn't necessary to learn so that you can proceed on to metaconcert shielding. Stack screening is done as follows. You visualize the first dome over you, outside your shields. You do not need to visualize the shields that you have with you constantly. You visualize the first dome, and then the second dome. You visualize the densities and thickness in the material of the first and second dome. You also visualize the elasticity, the flexibility, and the reflective capabilities. If necessary to create a third or fourth screen, then you go through the same process again. The final screen that you lay over the top, you coat with an imaginary layer of spikes or knobbles so that it gives the appearance of a porcupine almost. So that it gives, for somebody who can visualize your screens or actually perceive your screens, it gives them the appearance that they are attacking something a lot more complicated than it actually is.
So then, all 3 of our shields for stack shielding would be the same?
Yes.
Would it be useful to use our stack shielding during metaconcert? Is that one of the things required?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Metaconcert shielding, as you seem so interested on, I will explain a little bit. You can use a variety of screens. You can use pyramids, you can use crystal balls, you can use tear shapes all at the same time, all within inside each other. When you start using domes, you will find that it is slightly different to work on. The reason for using a dome in meta-concert shielding or in an extreme defensive capability is when you are being threatened by somebody of a higher consciousness. When Ashtar said that there are people of higher consciousness that are non-aggressive, there is, in between you and them, there are other people who are aggressive and will try to do harm. However, their capabilities are not as aggressive as you would like to think. They can penetrate shields and cause confusion and so on. One person that is like that is Charles Manson, I believe. He is a very powerful coercer, but unfortunately he is, or fortunately for you rather, he is not available due to the fact that he has been interned in some kind of I do not understand. Penitentiary previously.
Cage.
A cage, yes. Okay. Anyway. Stack screening. Where were we? Oh, yes. So that people that would be able to penetrate your shields, that are aggressive, are not as advanced as people like ourselves or people on high mountains on your planet. Most of the people that have extreme capabilities, but not as advanced as we are non-aggressive. But there are people in between that would be aggressive. A good example of a coercer of exceptional quality, although he's been dead for approximately 47 of your years, was a dictator in the continent of Europe. Presumably that's who it was. He was a coercer of extreme capability that makes Mr. Manson look like a child. However, because of his mental instability, his capabilities later deteriorated. This is quite common for somebody that is a corrupt coercer. The mental capabilities will overload them and they become mentally unstable and eventually terminate themselves one way or another. Another example of somebody of great coercive capability who also was around at the time was another dictator in the eastern part of Europe. Stalin, I believe, with red flags. Yes. Someone who is alive today that is a great coercer, that is a pacified coercer, is the Dalai Lama, that is in exile in, I believe, London. That is a good example of a higher enlightened person. The reason why he also has coercive capabilities is that he has learnt to develop them after he was kicked out of power from his homeland by the thank you. Do you have other questions concerning shielding and mental faculties? Okay.
First off, in the stack screens, would they be effective, say Ashtar was coming through to test our screens?
Ashtar, he'd penetrate that kind of shielding in a nanosecond probably. But again, as Ashtar is fond of saying, he is non-aggressive. he would not deliberately harm somebody. He uses his capabilities to test you. Next question, please.
All right. When using, say, an extreme emergency stack shielding, is there a certain posture you could maintain, such as, for example, a yoga?
Sitting down would be better. Lying down would spread you out too much on the ground, meaning that you'll have to enlarge the base of it. If you're sitting, then you don't have to have such a large base area, so therefore it is more economical. Economy is the most important thing. You do not waste energy. Every little bit of energy must be utilized to protect you.
All right. On these stack shieldings, is there a particular sort of dimensions or shape besides the spiked ones? Thought it was just something we designed.
The dimensions, the base should be enough to allow you to sit comfortably. So it would be the height of you sitting, a little bit extra actually, about a foot on top of that. Okay? Which would be the height of you sitting plus a foot on either side, and so on, working out from that point. As I've already stated, the spikes is only the last point on the final shield. It is not a point that you use on every shield, it is on the final shield.
I have a question.
Please proceed.
Would it be smart to sit on top of something such as a stool with some kind of seat so that you can put your shield below it as well?
If you are in an environment where there is rock beneath you, this is unnecessary.
Oh, there's what?
Rock.
Oh, okay.
There is a nice dense surface beneath you, concrete, will act not quite as well, but well enough to protect you due to the fact that most people cannot penetrate through rock.
How about just the earth, like if you were sitting in the forest?
That would slow them down sufficiently, but not totally.
So that it would be smart to sit on top of something like a stump or something so that you can get as much of your shield random as possible.
Most people do not think of trying to penetrate through the ground as it takes too much work. They tend to work on the actual shields themselves. If you do come across somebody that will try to penetrate the ground, then it is best to brace yourself for an extremely aggressive attack. However, the chances of meeting somebody like that are very slim. I estimate approximately 3,485,722.231 against you actually meeting somebody that capability. Next question, please.
When we're being, say, aggressively attacked, how will you be able to determine how much a level of defense we should use?
By the persistent feeling that you will get that you are under attack. It depends on the person attacking you. For example, if I was to attack you on a minimal level, then you would have a feeling of discomfort, possibly irritation to some degree, and you would be able to use a screen that would protect you from that. I believe you have an environmental factor happening at the moment. It's a matter of course.
Yes. A little bit of shield testing.
Yes.
Okay.
She is not wholly responsible for that.
Good practice.
You're welcome.
Say we're doing something very active, like say driving a car or running, something we need to use a stack screen.
Unfortunately, that is impossible due to the fact of the concentration needed to operate the mechanical transportation device, and the fact that a stack screening is an emergency device which needs to be used in a stationary position. You cannot walk, run, fly, swim, ride on a horse, ride on a bicycle, drive a transportation device. It is something that needs to be done when you are stationary. Exactly. It is, looking for an analogy, it is like a ship on an ocean. If it is caught in the storm, it is best to find a nice quiet place to wait out that storm.
Felt a heavy test this evening.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, if I'm up and I'm working and have to do something, my best defense is a very strong natural shielding that I'm working with.
Correct.
I have an observation that I don't know if you'll be able to answer like I doubt you will, but I'd like to see if I can ask anyone. It seems like with all this extra shielding, stacked, static, and otherwise, that we're being prepared for a war.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is more like basic training, you might say, what our armies go through to prepare them for the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Are you being prepared for a war of some kind?
right.
It is best to be prepared for every eventuality. You have armies, I believe, that are very seldom used in an aggressive mode, but yet you maintain them. This is a very smart move due to the fact that a country or a planet that does not have a aggressive force will soon be dominated by outside influences. So therefore, shielding can be compared to the same thing. It is necessary to make preparation as if a war was expected. Whether or not a war will happen is besides the point.
Question involving static screen, will come through later, but I'm a little confused about what exactly that is. Is that like, say for example, with our TV sets, we get what's called white noise.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. It is very confusing, and also with the particles moving around in a random direction, it makes it very difficult for somebody to penetrate. Next question, please.
I don't know.
Okay. Currently, I'm using a system of calling up my shield by number,
Mm-hmm.
along with a trigger phrase. This being the trigger phrase being Ward, and each shield then being numbered at current 1 through 3. So calling up Ward 1 would call up my first, and so on.
You were using a military tactic. You have just accessed files and things being done by the numbers as a military procedure. This is very wise and very well used and is extremely acceptable.
So I would assume that for working with my stack shields, and I just move on to go say Ward 4, Ward 5, Ward 6.
It might be better to use a different name for the stack screens, due to the fact that if you were in a situation where you're quickly putting up your shields, you could find yourself overextending yourself. Okay, we will take a break in a few minutes due to the fact that you probably desire a break, correct?
Always.
Okay.
Yes, I could use it.
We will send in, before we take the break, the light entertainment.
Alright, Sunday.
Said Herod,
Yeah.
of course. Didn't see me, see spot. The spot. Good evening.
Good evening to you. You are the light that came in.
Yes.
Hi, Tia.
Hi, Bethany. Isn't it great?
What?
Alright.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic.
This is
Curie, of course.
of course, and Nazriel's very happy about it.
Now, explain to me about Kiri. Is she pregnant?
Yes.
Oh,
You sound a little bit confused.
well, I was, but just a little bit, 'cause that's what I figured.
Courtney was rather prolonged, I believe.
Yeah, I thought you'd like to gossip about it anyway.
A personal question.
Mhm.
How do you feel about it?
Well, Kiri and myself have certain understandings, and from a genetic point of view, it's almost as if it's part mine anyway.
How do you doing?
Oh, I'm fine.
How's Cara after the witness to the
Oh, she's recovering. She won't be able to channel for a little while, maybe a week or two. But you know what she's like. She's very strong-headed. And if she feels that she wants to channel, oh well, it's your channel. But she is looking forward to me coming on.
Well, I've been blocked lately.
Well, you won't be blocked anymore. And a message for me.
Go ahead, I'm ready to take my scolding.
Get your posterior up here. You have things that you wish to discuss.
Discuss?
Yes, otherwise you will find that once you go solid, you will have a red.
That's okay, I understand.
Okay. And how is the practice coming with going solid, or is Mark still working on the program?
Still within the program.
I believe he did discuss with Autumn that he has taken on rather a lot of work to do recently, so that Autumn is slightly annoyed with Mark due to the fact that he has many things that he is doing, such as surveillance, analytic work, teaching, working out programs, and so on. Unfortunately, otherwise, he might spend more time up here, and maybe we could join Kiri in the nursery. Anyway, we are thinking of names up here for the female offspring of Kara. Would you care to join us in working out names? At the moment, all the female imp has is a number. So you have to come up with a name, as it is easier instead of saying A231
Crystal.
What about you, Bethany?
Calissa.
We have Cassandra as my personal favourite.
Calissa was the name of the witch that I was in the past life.
Ah. Well, we are being gently nudged by the boss mate, and he is informing us that you wish to take a respite. We will depart and we will see you in a little while.
I do.
But
Don't.
Don't. That's correct. Still, it's a challenge both ways for it.
I'm glad to see that you're making progress on your own rather than me telling you where to go. Hello, Mark.
Hello, David. Hello, well, this is a little bit confusing.
Would you like me to leave so that you could channel?
It's up to Bethany if you wish to go.
I believe she wishes to be tested tonight on her shields, so, well, we could do that up here. Huh?
Still, it's enjoyable hearing from her, coming from her against you.
Always happy to hear your voice. All right, then I'll get a move on, and I'll be back.
It sounds more amusing coming through Bethany than listening to it through me on a tape recorder.
I think it's easier to say that through Bethany. Somehow her vocal cords are more vulnerable.
Well, after all, I am from a different culture.
Yes, but she has released her vocal cords very much to us. If you remember, the first few times she channeled, that was the problem.
Yeah, the releasing of the vocal cords. And I can't remember if it was you or Corton I was discussing with teaching Bethany trance channeling.
I believe that was Corton.
Yeah, as I've already stated, I am doing a lot of extra things for you guys, surveillance and so
I don't
on.
want to hear it.
Okay. I'll give you my sub story when I get up there.
Can you tell me what is this thing in Bethany's mouth?
Chewing gum, I believe.
What is the purpose?
It is a artificial stimuli to occupy the mind whilst talking. Personally, I find it very
Annoying?
yes, annoying habit having somebody talking to you and they're chewing on a piece of gum.
I see.
Okay.
Alright, I'll be off now.
Right, good talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Hey, who's here?
Well, we were talking about manifestation.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
greetings.
Greetings, Bethany. Thank you for letting us use you.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, we're going to gear down from heavy duty screening to a lighter form of screening, almost entertainment-like. I believe that is the correct phrases to use. Okay, I believe my esteemed colleague was using definitions for you to understand concerning coercive capabilities. We will also now discuss various forms of other faculties relating to shielding. For example, an individual that we are interested in that is very capable in the PK spectrum is a gentleman from Israel by the name of Uri Geller.
Yes, you're talking. That must be.
Must be aware, or rather are aware of discussions. I must remind you again, as you seem to forget, that you are under constant surveillance.
Forget.
No, and you shouldn't. Okay. Mr. Geller's capability is psychokinesis, being able to bend objects restart watches, etc. Relating to shielding, that somebody of a more advanced capability, even more advanced than Mr. Geller, would use physical bombardment, possibly. However, there are very few of these people on your planet, and those that tend to hide themselves very well, and a few tend to be entertainment, psychokinesis capabilities on your sorry, I lack words for that. No, can't help you there. But they tend to be harmless enough, as they tend to be more interested in being showy.
I have a question.
Okay, please.
What has PK been in the shoe?
Actual physical bombardment, somebody that had a PK capability could almost fling the fabled penny at you.
Right.
And it would be necessary to deflect the mental capability for this, so that the penny might start to move towards you and then drop almost instantaneously, because your shields would deflect the preordained flight path of the penny that the person has chosen, or it might even stop them from doing it.
I was thinking maybe PK strong shields to use.
You do as well.
How could I, as a child, do it so well without having shields?
Because
Without having good shields?
because your mind was much younger and didn't have the mental barriers that have been placed in due to personal experience, environmental experiences, environmental factors, parental factors, and quite a few others which would be pointless to mention because they're all basically the same thing. So the older you get, the more mental barriers you put in place. This is why it is important to get an offspring or a child at an early age before they have formed those barriers. A child is much more susceptible to having their mind capability enlarged. This is not my field. This is Hornatz's field, which possibly will be available.
Okay, we're talking about Yuri Geller.
Yuri Geller, yeah.
Continue with that thought.
Yuri Geller. Why do you wish to know more about this gentleman?
Because his ability is coinciding with our current line of study.
Mm-hmm.
And Bethany was unaware of it or what he did.
I don't think Bethany was totally unaware. It is that she has had the name and in her past has heard what he can do, but due to the length of time has forgotten much of what she heard.
Why is it so recognizable? PK means so minor to people. You don't ever hear about it there.
Because it is something that requires quite a bit of mind concentration, and those that do have it tend to feel, I believe as the channel would say, like a freak. That they are not, they are the natural evolution of your species, of those that do have mental capabilities.
Does this come down to genetics?
Yes, it does.
What's the point of psychoanalysis?
You can use it for many things. One that springs to mind that we access is from one of the authors that is in your library, A Stranger in a Strange Land. They use a very useful form of psychokinesis for stirring soups and pasta dishes and so on, without actually touching the utensil for stirring them. And there are other uses for psychokinesis, such as moving something that is in your way, punching holes in walls if necessary, or by creating a large, heavy object to move and to put out fires burning in carpets.
See, the thing about that is that, as a child, when I would bend pencils and stuff like that, the reason I didn't pursue it is because it was kind of like an entertainment for myself. It wasn't, it wasn't something to show off. It just seemed like a game more than me.
And you felt later on in life that it wasn't important to use this and to develop it, correct? And this is due to environmental factors, the way that you have been educated. It is sometimes education can be the worst thing to happen to somebody when they are learning that they have capabilities. But we must get back to the subject of shielding, as we have wandered from it. Also, shielding can be used against manifestation. Manifestation can be used to attack somebody who has... Where are you going?
Just up here for 1 second.
Well, she's gone. Can I ask a quick question?
Second.
Back.
What's wrong with your back?
I am back.
Oh, you are back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
So,
I think you use the 9mm laser sightings.
okay. This has to do with PK and shielding.
Please proceed.
Is aggressive shielding coupled with PK a very effective form of...
Yes, it is. It is a very effective weapon. But if you are contemplating working on aggressive shielding, do not do that yet. We are working with the Chandler, although he would prefer to be elsewhere. I personally am not working with him, but he will probably do a time translation to fulfill a promise that he made just recently concerning a young lady's run.
Yeah. I'm just storing info for later. Okay. Okay, so... manifestation.
Manifestation, yes. If somebody was to manifest a fireball at you, you can use your shielding to deflect it, as a fireball is created by the mind's capability. It would also have to go against another mind-generated instrument such as the shield, and the shield would be able to deflect it. If a person of much greater capability was to fire a fireball at a person using shielding, then there would be damage done. The outer screens may go, the inner screens would stay. This is why stack screening, which we will work on at a later date, would be useful.
Now we're talking about manifestation in the third dimension as far as a fireball against shielding, which doesn't seem to me would stop something manifesting in the third dimension.
Well, both are created by the mind.
If you can't see a shield, but you can see a fireball.
Can you see light? Can you see darkness?
Yeah.
How do you see darkness? How do you see light? You see it through your eyes, but you don't actually see where light comes from. You see the point of origin, but you do not see.
You see the results.
Correct. So therefore, another way to explain it is, can you see the total spectrum of light, all the different colors?
Not for tourists.
Correct. Shielding works on the same principle, that you cannot see it physically due to the fact that you need a device to see it.
You
Or-
can see the result.
Correct.
What?
This one's smart. And as a friend of ours is wandering around, slightly.
Head hanging low.
No, he looks.
Fist in the air.
No, he's got his fists on his hips and he's walking around, muttering, "When will she be here?" He wishes an answer, I believe. And I do hate acting as mediator, and please do not let this happen again. This one time is acceptable.
Well, then I will refrain from answering. You'll just have to wait.
We wish an answer so that we can get rid of this individual.
Just say I'll surprise him. I can't guarantee I'll be up there tonight because I'm extremely tired and I have to work tomorrow and humans need sleep.
Yes, we are aware of this weakness. Okay, we will have to put up with this circling individual.
I apologize.
It is not as nice as a circling female individual that we tend to have circling occasionally. But nonetheless, we can put up with this. It is not your fault, so do not apologize. It is his youth and irresponsibility that makes him act like this.
Thank you for your tolerance.
You're welcome. Now, back to shielding. And this is a time where I have to use my own shielding to block out negative vibes coming from the aforementioned individual. Well, you were discussing earlier on information relating to the levels of shielding.
Well,
Okay, Bethany, you are a 4.2. Russ, you are a 5. Correction, you are a 6.1. Due to the fact of necessary aggravation.
oh, mentioning that.
Yes, and we will not disclose what the channel is, but you folks need a considerable bit of work to catch up. We will disclose that information maybe in a little while, or somebody else with a scientific genetic mind might release that information. Do you have more questions concerning shielding?
Can you tell me when it's a good idea for me to go back to the rotation of the lights?
We will tell you at the time.
Okay.
Um,
Is there a certain level I have to reach within level 5?
yes, there is. It's about level 6 would be preferable.
Practicing our stack shielding. Can we start that anytime now?
It would be best to start it in the next prolonged channeling session, which will be, I believe, 7 of your days.
It's 6 I can do it Friday.
Okay, 6 of your days then.
You do it then?
Yes, and that will be the last one of your basic training. We will then work out the scheduling after a 2-week light entertainment session where you may be tested again. However, Ashtar will test you when Ashtar wishes, as he stated previously. Beware.
Right, so you get tested at any time, not during the sessions.
You could be, for example, channeling on one of your alt mites, and Ashtar might decide that it is now time to talk to you and test your screens. But don't take this as being written in lead.
Would it be advisable then to only channel when all three of us are present rather than only two?
No. Ashtar is aware that when there are three together is the correct time to channel. When he channels through you, that is his own decision. He may channel through when there is two of you there and not test you, just give you a discussion or even interview you.
Let's look at the rating.
Okay. That would be a short interlude. Greetings. Felicitations. Incorrect.
Whereas,
Correct. A bit slow, aren't we?
absorbing information as we get older.
I can only state briefly as I have to get back to my lab as I have an experiment running.
Okay.
This is a genetic experiment. It doesn't concern anybody that you know.
Get the layout of the different levels within level 5 once again,
Starting from which point?
the beginning.
From the beginning. Okay. In level 5, there are 12 subsections. Level 1 being the lowest, level 12 being the highest. You have already been stated what your level is. I believe, however, my colleague left out your level 9.
What do you mean?
Your channeler.
Oh, that's okay.
Also due to the fact that he is looking for an interesting analogy. Bulking hub. That wouldn't be correct, never mind.
How do you determine each level as you go up without having to be told such?
There are certain steps that you must achieve before you can go up to the next subsection. Such steps are being able to throw up your screens rapidly, being able to lower your screens rapidly. The lower step is being able to increase the thickness of your shielding, and so on down the line. A level 1 would be somebody that has a strong enough screen to deflect normal levels of mental capability. A level 2 would be somebody that would be able to absorb that energy and use it in their screens. A level 3 is somebody that can vary the thickness, receive the incoming energy and deflect it. A level 4 is somebody that can increase the thickness of their screening, vary the density of the materials, and receive and reflect the incoming energy. A level 5 is somebody that can communicate through the shields. A level 6 is somebody that can communicate through the shields um, deflect, vary, and so forth. A level 7 is somebody that can lower and raise their shields more rapidly and reflect, receive, and send information. A level 8 is somebody that can use a greater variety of shielding, as well as receive, reflect, send, etc., etc. A level 9 is somebody who can use a very simple form of aggressive screening, can use stack screening again in primitive form, but this is not necessary to be a level 9. This is more a level 10 or 11. Do you wish me to proceed, or am I making it uninteresting?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. A level 10 is somebody that can use aggressive screening and defensive screening, changing from one to the other pretty rapidly, in maybe half a second or even a nanosecond. 11. A level 11, and that is such a difficult word to pronounce. Level 11 is somebody that can use a more complicated stack screening with a regular screen that can use an aggressive and a defensive. The level 12, somebody that can use stack screening proficiently and use a defensive, aggressive shield, transferring from one to the other rapidly and using a very primitive form of defensive shield. A level 6 being a new level, not a level 5.6, but a level 6.1, or rather 6.0, is somebody that can be used all of the aforementioned without any problem, and works towards the end of being much more proficient in everything, such as aggressive, defensive, offensive, stack screening, and starting on static screening. Okay, we won't go into any more, as the noise that you made is a suggestion of exhaustion.
I have a question.
Please proceed.
The levels within 5 have aggressive shielding in them.
Yes.
I thought that was in level 6.
These are primitive forms of aggressive shielding.
So level 6 is mastered aggressive.
Yes, and you're working on perfecting. It is a bit like your linguistic skill. A child of 5-year-olds is proficient in communication. However, compared to an adult, it isn't that advanced.
I'm a little confused though. You went from level 12 back to level 6, but you said level 6 incorporate everything at level 12.
Yes, but in a much...
5.12 and level 6.1.
I get that.
The next level. Yes, I'm sorry for the confusion.
There's levels and then sub-levels. 5.12 is the sub-level, 6.1.
We would like to make a statement that when the channeler comes back, it might be advisable to give him a massage on the neck due to the fact that he is in an uncomfortable position. Okay. We will now hand back to my counterpart, not Omal, however.
Thank you very much. Sure.
Welcome. Have an enjoyable evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Goodbye, Carlos.
Greetings once again. Greetings, Russell. Greetings. Okay. Now then, I believe somebody was on about having their screens tested.
Maybe.
Correct.
And I would like my
Okay, do you wish to prepare yourself, or do you want me to do it without warning?
No, we've prepared myself.
Okay, keep talking so we can get a fix on it. How about reciting a nursery rhyme that a young lady likes to recite? Okay, please proceed.
Call up the water spout down here.
We are having amusement with that.
It's just funny to be singing music that's inspired in the middle of a channel.
Well, it is not actually for my amusement, it is for yours. As I do not have amusement on such a level. I have amusement at admiring my antiques that I have been able to collect. Yes. Okay. And I am thinking of using one in these sessions. Actually, nobody's rather tell it that it is more for my entertainment, my amusement. After all, I haven't outgrown all emotions. Okay. Are you ready?
I think so.
Next victim, please communicate. Now I have humiliated both of you. Okay, are you ready?
Jeez, Russ, I lasted a bit longer than you.
Almost a relapse, not quite.
So what level are we at?
It's already been mentioned what level you're at.
I know, but last time that level went up to 55 minutes.
Sometimes it works that way, sometimes it isn't. It is like when you learn to use your transportation devices. One day you could drive proficiently using the mechanism to increase the speed in conjunction with the mechanism to increase the engine ratios, and another day you would grind the gears very badly. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. It is not a relapse, it is just temporarily forgetting what you were trying.
Right. Anything gaps?
You are proceeding reasonably well. I have been reprimanded for encouragement of more than necessary.
Or what in the...
More encouragement, more praise than is necessary.
Soft clues.
Yes. I have been, an analogy, told to be more like a drill sergeant.
That's what I mean. Appreciate that.
Okay, we will remove this file and study it, and then we will replace it. We can continue talking as this is quite simple to do. All I have to do is use a subject which I will call in, and dump it into their memory, and then remove it at a later date. But in the meantime, whilst this is happening, we will continue discussing shielding. Oh, we were discussing earlier on stack screen, correct?
Right.
Okay. You have your secretarial material available. It might not be necessary as you have this instrument for recording. Okay. Now, the approximate density of the material to use would be something of a crystalline nature. Approximately 2 to 3 inches to start off with. You can enlarge this at a later date when you become more proficient. The gap will remain the same between each shield that you will create. It is also necessary to keep them in a stable situation if you do not rotate them or spin them, due to the fact that it is expenditure of unnecessary energy because your personal shields are already doing that. Working in conjunctions with a personal shield, a screen can only be used when you're in a conscious state of mind. It is necessary to be not uninhibited, but inhibited, because that is the nature of the screens, that they are to inhibit any incoming information or aggressive attacks. If you are in an uninhibited state of mind, for example, having indulged in one of your habits, then the stack screens will not work, and it will also do more harm than good. However, your personal shields will no longer be affected by this.
Question.
Please proceed.
When we are, say, engaging our habits, such, is our personal shield hard to affected?
They're not affected any noticeable amount, because now you're reaching a level where they are almost automatic.
One thing I'm trying right now.
Excuse us, we are going to adjust the channeler's position. You might want to protect the recording device.
I warned you.
Yeah, start coming.
Yes, it is running. I can hear it loud in my...
Like me a bit?
No. It gives us comfort knowing that you are taking precautions on recording. Although I would love to hear the sound it made when it hit the ground.
I'll play it back, please.
Okay. That might be amusing to do, would be to listen to the past. Yes, it would be interesting.
So we'll queue it up for next week.
Okay. Although we do have recordings of key channelings with higher officials.
Oh, so you can record them, but we can't?
You mean?
There are conversations.
Yes, concerning last week's was recorded due to the fact that it was felt that it would be necessary for us to go over at a later date the information that was divulged by our esteemed authority. Okay, we will now cut this channeling session to an end and wish you a good evening. I believe a time translation has been done, so the channeler may be delayed just slightly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cliff.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Gordiana.
You too, young lady.
This is